Hey, good morning to you. This is Sam Motherface in for Jim White today with Martin Keown, the Arsenal Invincible, and Simon Jordan here. Are you looking forward to a World Cup that could be in Spain, Portugal, Morocco, Paraguay, Uruguay and Argentina?
Am I looking forward to it? I'm open-minded to understand the nuance and context of how they think that's going to work. Because ultimately, all bets are off with the World Cup and its integrity, or more to the point, its authenticity and its established principles when they changed the World Cup from the summer to November to accommodate the Middle East and the nature of that transaction. So I have an open mind. On paper, it looks a slightly strange decision about the manner in which people are going to be able to move around between continents. The argument I was having with an ill-informed producer and an underwhelming Jim yesterday was in the nature of the geography between Morocco and Portugal and Spain. The Iberian Peninsula was very small, so actually being in two continents, which is Africa and Europe, wasn't a big deal because Portugal and Spain are just literally around the corner from Morocco. So that argument, but the idea that you're playing in South America and then travelling and the group of fans that have to travel and ultimately the fabric of the World Cup being slightly compromised.
Well, it's only ceremonial, really, isn't it? Because there's three games out of the 104 that are going to be played in South Africa.
When the feigned hysteria was coming in from Jim and the dark little orc that operates in our producerial area was trying to create division in the situation surrounding.
You're talking about our
Is there not
executive
a disregard, though, for the supporters? 12,000-mile round trip.
You said who cares about them earlier on?
Who said who cares about the
You
fans?
did. You said let them get a different group of fans to watch it.
Not at all. I'm always standing up for the supporters and the timing of games, the number of games they have to go to. It's a massive journey, isn't it?
Welfare.
Well, how are we to remember this World Cup? It's because it's all over the place, isn't it? When you look back on it. Why is it so strung out?
It's in 2030, so let's look forward to it first.
The carbon footprint, about all these matters.
How do you remember?
Why do we have to make it so difficult?
How do you remember the 1978 World Cup? You weren't there. You watched it on television. So what difference did it make to you?
Well, I enjoyed it. But at least it was in one country, wasn't it?
Fine, but the game and the spectacle
but this is
and the performances
100 years
of the
of the
players
World
is what
Cup,
you remember.
right? This is 100 years of the World Cup, so they're trying to pay sort of homage to South America. South America probably can't pull off the tournament the way they want it to be done. It's also going to Mexico and the Americas.
So it's Uruguay we're going
in 2026. So they want to bring it back to Europe. So they're sort of trying to be all things to all people.
Do the whole World Cup in Uruguay then.
Well, because they can't put on a Uruguay
really?
World Cup. Yeah, 104
couldn't
games.
help them to fund that.
Maybe the Uruguayans don't want it. It's not their funding.
I just feel that it's just too. Why are we travelling all around the world to do that?
It's only 3 games. It's 3 games. Is there a real three games out of 104 are going to be played in South America? The rest of them are going to be played between Spain, Portugal, and Morocco.
I'm sorry, I'm used to that tradition of playing in one country for a World Cup. If we can, we did have it with the Euros, didn't we?
Well, we won't be having that in the next World Cup because they're playing in the USA and Mexico
and Canada.
Yeah, so let's try and make just simplify it then in the future.
Why?
Okay, let's hear from Gareth Southgate, see what he has to say.
Why?
It's more the integrity of the competition, I think, that's... but until I see a really clear plan and outline of exactly what that might look like, hard to tell. But I'm assuming you could have England could be drawn in a group with Argentina. We could play Argentina in Buenos Aires and then travel back to Portugal or Spain. Yeah, I don't quite know how that competition could work that way, but as I say, I've not been in the discussions that matter on that.
Yeah, well, the truth is we don't know how it's going to work yet because we've never seen a 48-team World Cup at this moment in time, so we don't know how it's going to manifest itself going forward. Anyway, they also confirmed, FIFA, that bidding now is open for the 2034 World Cup, and they invited AFC and OFC confederations to bid for this particular World Cup. And within an hour, Saudi Arabia lodged their bid, opening the door to potentially another Winter World Cup mid-season. Is that likely? If it's going to go to Saudi Arabia, does it have to be in November, December?
Well, the reasons why they originally got the bid to be successful was that they assured FIFA that they would be able to provide the prerequisite environments to combat the heat.
The air conditioning.
And then the technology that was developed, they felt needed more testing. So ultimately, FIFA made the decision to move the World Cup to November. So if we're now moving into the territory of saying, I don't know if Martin prefers summer World Cups or Winter World Cups.
Did you experience the stadium air conditioning, didn't you? You must have.
We did. It was probably over the top, wasn't it?
It was quite cold in the stadium.
So it worked. So the point is that FIFA didn't have the.
I was hoping it was going to be a one-off. if I'm honest.
Fine, but we still saw a
over.
wonderful tournament, didn't we? And you were.
It was like a Disneyland World Cup,
but
wasn't
you
it?
liked it, so you are prepared to see things through a different prism.
Well, I mean, there was never each ground was within 10 miles of one another. It was like being on a fairground ride.
Fine, but
it's unbelievable to go and see all of those
as far
games
as the quality of football. I mean,
overindulgence, though, I must say.
I agree that sometimes if
of what they spent on all those stadiums.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's up to them, isn't it? I mean, I don't think they're
always
short of a bob or two, are they?
I just think this is, again, and this is just another disregard, isn't it, for the supporters, for the welfare of the players, astonishing travelling to Bronner's areas. You know, all these distances, you're just going to get on a plane and do it, Sam. You know?
We had to go to when we went to Russia in 2018. We had to go from Kaliningrad, which is a province which is outside the mainland Russia, all the way to Ekaterinburg.
Yeah, 2 different time zones. Russia's the biggest country on the planet.
So people were travelling more then.
No, but I just feel that. But this was a tournament being held there predominantly.
But go
wasn't
back to Saudi Arabia and the idea of it being a Winter
They wanted
World
to take
Cup.
it to all of Russia, didn't they? That's why they did it. I'm not sure we should be travelling halfway around the world to make things difficult for us. You know, for the players, they don't consider the players. They don't consider the fans.
What about the fans in those regions?
Yes, of course, but let's play the whole competition there then.
Saudi Arabia, you're up for a Winter World Cup again?
Well, no, not really. I don't think it works because this year we've got a catalogue of injuries and no one's even looking at it, but there is a fallout process because of all these games that we're having to play, and the players then become the victims. I think, okay, I can see there some say, they get paid a fortune.
No, I wasn't going to say that.
But they want to play in as many games as possible. And I think when we put a World Cup in the middle of it, we just make the season far too long.
It's interesting because we had this debate about the fixtures that were conflated during the COVID crisis and the prediction that ultimately there would be a whole raft of injuries more the following season, and there wasn't. Now, I don't suggest that the coincidence of the World Cup and injuries that are now piling up. We've got a lot of injuries this season. I don't know what the statistics are year on year, because what we do is we pull a statistic out, we put it in isolation and say 100 Premier League players are injured this weekend. Now, I don't know.
We talked about it last week. There's 100 players injured already.
I just said that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if last year it was 97, so the increase is 3%. If it was 50...
Nowhere near.
I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know what the numbers are, but when we pull a statistic out in isolation to make a point, and we don't compare and contrast it with empirical data, then we don't have real basis for what we're saying. We're saying it because it suits our own agenda.
So we just ignore it then, do we?
No, but we've got to be substantial in what we're saying. Your argument, it suits the argument. The World Cup in the World Cup in November, the load on players, and here's the outcome, because the outcome suits the argument that you wanted to advance. If we go back a year and we say that there wasn't this workload on players, there wasn't a World Cup, and there's still a significant amount of injuries at a certain time of the season, i.e. the beginning of it, then the argument falls away, doesn't it?
If you play more games, Simon, you get more injuries, don't you?
Well, it depends what kind of injuries they are. Have you analysed the injuries?
We're getting major injuries.
Have you analysed the injuries to make out? Are they collision injuries?
All
are they
down,
soft
mostly probably to fatigue.
You don't know.
Did all the 100 players that are injured go to the World Cup?
Probably not, no.
Again, so where's that argument coming to the equation then?
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.